Hey everybody, so today we're looking at the much anticipated SeeStar S30, the smaller smart telescope from ZWO that at $350 represents the lowest price point you can get a smart telescope today. So let's look at the specs, the marketing, and have a look and say, hey, is it actually worth $350 or should you maybe be considering the larger S50, which comes in around $500? So let's go look at what this telescope is offering. So on the website, they're very clear. They have three shooting modes. There's stargazing, which is what I think 90% of people are going to be using it for. Scenery, so using it as a telephoto lens, so you can take pictures of birds, plants, buildings far away, scenic stuff like that. And then we have solar system, which is primarily going to be lunar and solar imaging, but I also suspect that there's going to be things like comets, and potentially some planetary in there. Take images of some of the planets, although with a small telescope, you are going to be limited, but you should be able to get a decent enough image to be able to identify that it is the planet that you're imaging. Similar to the SeeStar S50, you're looking at about a 6-hour battery life in the unit. I think the battery is actually the same size as the SeeStar S50. And the next nice thing it has filtration for being in the city, but also it has an upgraded Starvis 2 sensor. And it's going to be a 1/2.5 inch sensor. While again, small, this is the typical sensor you use in a planetary imaging camera. In larger telescopes, it's being applied as a wide field camera in the small telescopes with the wider angle. The nice upgrade is that the Starvis 2 doesn't have amp glow and it has a better noise to signal ratio, and it does have a deeper well, so you're less likely to overexpose on the bright images in the night sky, aka stars, and still be able to collect like nebulosity, faint galaxy details, etc. while you're imaging. There is an apochromatic lens, and it's actually a triplet. There are 3 elements into it. And then you have a dedicated app on your smartphone, which allows you to find targets in the night sky so that you don't have to find them yourself, and allows you to sort of set up an automated imaging session. And then there apparently is now also global sharing of your astronomy, so you can compare what you're getting with other people. Now, these are some of the photos that they have provided us. We'll go over the photos a little bit later because I have some improved photos to show you in this video, but it gives you an idea of the framing. It is a lot wider than the SeeStar S50, and it is still giving out pretty decent results, even though we are talking about a very small smart telescope here. Another feature that has just come on the S50, and here it's going to be in the SeeStar S30, is the smarter Mosaic photography. Now, what this does is it allows you to reframe your targets, and it'll actually take multiple images in a mosaic and then stitch them all together for you. This means that if you're looking at the target and you're saying, I can't fit it in because it's an odd orientation for the night because of where you are versus where it is in the sky, the camera will automatically rotate the frame, and then using that new framing, it'll take several pictures to cover that frame of the target, and you get a much larger picture with the object fully in the image for you. This is a really nice improvement, and I'm hoping that other smart telescopes come out with a similar feature in the near future. I did want to drill home one thing though about the S30 versus the S50, and why, if you're looking at buying a smart telescope today, you should be considering the S30 over the S50, despite the fact that the S30 is only a 30mm optical system and the S50 is a 50mm optical system, and the primary one is field of view. Because as you can see here in these photos, you're getting a much wider field of view in the S30, which in a lot of cases you might think is bad, but when you look at a lot of the objects that beginners like to image, like M42, which is the Great Orion Nebula, and M31, which is the Andromeda Galaxy, the larger field of view allows you to get those in the full single picture. Now, somebody might say there is mosaic mode, and I agree. Mosaic mode is a very nice feature, but if you're like me and you're like, I want to image this target all night long and get several days worth of imaging, the mosaic mode sort of takes 2 hours and then it stops. There isn't sort of a continuous mosaic mode going. Right now, if you were to ask me which one should you buy, the cheaper price, the wider field lens, the wide field lens and the wider field of view, the SeeStar S30 is definitely the buy this season over the S50. One thing I will mention here in this photo is that you can also see the charge port here, which is USB-C, and this other sort of boxy section here, which may actually contain the battery, which means that the battery, over time might be replaceable. Although it might be one of those, you send it in to get replaced or you have a technician replace it, not something that you're going to replace every day. But yeah, it seems like there is an access port on the back. I don't know if this is going to be available in the production unit, but this is the few images that we see of the back, and it does have a port here on the back. So that's kind of interesting. And then here we have those two images side by side here, and you see the wide field image here showing you the entire city, and then you have your telephoto image, which is showing you that particular building. And yes, the wide field image, I'll point out here, is in landscape, and the telephoto lens is in portrait mode. They do have a magnetic solar filter with easy snap-on and snap-off installation. This is a nice improvement over what the SeeStar S50 came with, which was something that you had to actually jam into the hole, which made taking it off and on a little bit harder. And given that, the solar filter is actually a very fragile thing and you don't want to get hand oil, etc. on it, having it magnetic is definitely a solid upgrade. And they also have auto tracking with birds, which is nice because if you watch a lot of my other videos, I do a lot of birding, and being able to buy a smart telescope that also can sort of act as a secondary telephoto lens and track birds, etc., particularly when it's like cold outside or you want to set something up to image when the bird arrives and you don't necessarily want to sit out there for a long time and watch your bird feeder. This is a really nice feature that they've included in the smart telescope. Another nice feature in the SeeStar S30 is the AI noise reduction and anti-light pollution filtering. What this does is when you're imaging the night sky, you end up with a lot of green and blue colors that aren't not necessarily always natural. They are a side effect of using RGB sensors. So what it does is it knows to correct for the background light illumination and basically apply that so you get a nice clean image. This is the same thing photographers do in post-processing, so it's nice to see that it is on board, which means that the straight out of camera shot is going to be a lot cleaner and usable than having to go to, say, Photoshop or Affinity Photo and fix that later. It's done, and you can share it out with your friends of the nice image that you've taken. In addition to taking night photos, you can see here that they come with time-lapse and video recording. Now, I'm going to make some comments on this. The photo mode is what you're going to need to use for astrophotography. The time-lapse mode you can use for things that are, again, like on the ground, like cars moving around, the night sky moving, etc. And then you're going to want to do video recording for planets and the sun, etc. because they are so bright that doing a video recording and then taking out the frames that are fuzzy is how professional photographers do planetary imaging. So it is obviously diverse features, absolutely, but this is like what you need to be able to do the different types of astrophotography and night imaging that you might want to do in order to get the most out of this smart telescope possible. The telescope comes with 65 gigabytes worth of internal storage. While that might sound low in today's modern age, realize it is taking 1080p images, so 1920 by 1080, which means that there's a lot of storage that it can handle, and you'll be able to use this over multiple nights. I've been using the SeeStar S50 for several months without having to fill the buffer, although there are some functions that you could fill this up quickly, like in video. But if you're doing astrophotography, etc., you're generally taking one picture every 20 seconds. So it's a much slower process than, say, taking one picture 24 frames a second. So this is plenty of space in the small telescope to be able to get a full night of imaging done, or 2 or 3 if you're going on a trip. I'm not concerned about this. Would you like to have more? Absolutely, but you don't really need it. Now, it does come in at 1.65 kilograms, which for our American friends is about 3.65 pounds. So very small, very light, and I do like the fact that they have a tripod that comes with it, and it's got a much wider base because that wide base is going to allow you to have more stability when imaging. And then we get into Wi-Fi. Now, I'm going to make a comment about Wi-Fi here, which is that if you are using these types of telescopes and you're standing near them, or they're out in a field and you're just sitting in your car, you can get away with the 5G connectivity. If you are like me in the middle of winter and you're like, oh, I want to run this outside and I'm going to be in my house because it's cold outside, you're going to want to turn on the 2.5G coverage. And the reason I say this is because the 2.5G gives you more range, slower speed, but more range, and it tends to do better going through walls. You're still going to need to consider that this is the range not between you and the telescope when you start, it's between your smartphone and the telescope. But if you are using station mode, it's between your Wi-Fi hub and the smart telescope, which I have it generally when you've seen some of my other videos when I'm doing it live. I have it where the smart telescope is on the other side of the wall to my Wi-Fi hub, which is why you're generally seeing in my live streams the south side of the sky rather than the north side, because the house is in the way. Anyway, this is just something I want to mention because I've talked to a couple people and they want to buy it and then put it out 20 meters away from their house and stuff. I'm like, if your Wi-Fi hub is right beside there, you can do that, but just realize that this is in an open field. Buildings and other stuff in the way is going to reduce that significantly. So this kind of coverage and range is good in an open field, but I would say cut it in half for if you're in a busy place or cluster stuff. But if you're putting this out on your balcony and you're using it in your apartment, no problem. This will work quite well. For those who want to get really technical, we do have this chart of specs, and I can quickly just go over some stuff, and I'll just mention some works. First of all, it's the SeeStar S30. It does have an IMX662 chip, which is a color chip. It is the Stavarius 2 brand. This is normally used in planetary cameras or being used for star tracking in larger cameras to be able to use them. The resolution on the telephoto lens is 1080p by 1920 because it actually is a portrait mode. The wide angle lens is actually 920 by 1080p. There is a little bit of an error here. It is a 30 millimeter aperture. It is f5, and if you're thinking that's slow, most telescopes are about f5 to f10, and the reason for that is so the entire field of view is in focus. My Red Cat, which is my fastest telescope I have, is f4.9, so well within the range of what's expected in a telescope, whereas if you're using a photographic lens, you might think this is slow. It's not. It is an apochromatic triplet, which is nice. Again, as we mentioned before, the storage is 64 gigabytes of eMMC. This is really fast storage, and that should be enough that you need to do. It does have Bluetooth, which you use to connect up with the device. It then switches to your Wi-Fi setup, and it also apparently has a USB-C mode. I'm hoping that means that you're going to be able to connect it up to a computer and use that as well, or connect it directly to your phone for those who want to do it. The working temperature is -10 degrees Celsius to about 40 degrees Celsius, and it says recommended. Now, I've used smart telescopes all the way down to -27 degrees Celsius, and they still work, although they are slow and they will put up a fight. I would be interested to see how cold you can get with this telescope, although clearly it shouldn't be used in super hot weather. And part of the reason for that is because as the temperature goes up, since this sensor is not cooled, as you get warmer, it introduces more and more noise into the image. And once you sort of get past 30 degrees Celsius, and I guess 40 degrees Celsius in this particular case, there's so much noise and heat that the telescope has that basically it makes a very poor quality image. The mount type is alt-azimuth, but there was no mention on the spec sheet about using it in a, quote, equatorial mode. Now, with the SeeStar S50, it is possible to do that, but it's not officially recognized by ZWO or SeeStar. And at the end of the day, there are some quirks when you do that. So I suspect that this is going to be similar. The slew rate is 1x to 1440x, which is plenty. And if you're wondering what slew rate is, 1x is the speed that the sky moves normally. So what this means is it can track the sky and then it can move from one part of the sky to another part of the sky at 1440 times the speed the sky moves, which is a nice way of saying it can move from one side of the sky to the other side of the sky in about 30 seconds. Its zero position is mechanical rather than being optical or magnetic. So that is good, but at the same time, it means that there's a potential for wear in the long run. So do treat this device as a scientific instrument and not a toy. Again, as we mentioned before, 6,000 milliamp hour battery for about 6 hours of operation. The connection port, aka the tripod port, is a 3/8 by 16 inch connection. So that means that it's the thicker of the two connections that we see in tripods and cameras. The smaller one is 1/4 inch 20. So this is the thicker one, which is good because it means that you're going to get a solid connection between the tripod and the smart telescope. Weight, again, we know is 1.65 kilograms. The power port is a USB Type-C connector. There is a Wi-Fi reset button. Apparently it says support. I'm not sure. We do have the size, which I will show you a diagram right here. And you can see here in these drawings, this actually is a very small little system. It fits within 140 by 209 millimeters, the actual unit, and then the tripod is only another 52 millimeters, and the whole package when it's put out is about 240 millimeters. Overall, quite small and compact, and you could easily put this in the travel bag that comes with it, or if you want to, you could put this in pretty much any backpack or day bag or satchel or whatever and take it on the go. The charging temperature is 0 to 40, so generally these things you want to charge them inside. The Wi-Fi range here, it mentions it's less than 10 meters or equal to 10 meters. Less than or equal to 10 meters, which I believe is the 5G setup. Again, these are not designed to be used 40 meters away or 50 meters away, and you do need to be standing like right beside it to be able to connect using the Bluetooth. The working distance is 6 meters to infinity. What this means is the telescope, the closest focus it can do is 6 meters away. So if you want to take a picture of, say, a bird or a bunny or a small child or a car or anything else like that, it has to be at least 6 meters away to be in focus. And then obviously it has infinity focus distance, which is what you're using 99% of the time to image the night sky. And then here we have the app. And again, this is the same app as the S50 uses. It's very similar. You can see here, it provides you a lot of data. If you have internet connectivity, you can go and check your albums, tutorials on how to use stuff. You can check out the stacks. You have the different modes up here. And then when you scroll down, you can see the best recommended for the night, etc. But you also have and this all works really, really well. And it literally is an observatory in your pocket. Like when I realized how much this technology has moved forward in the last couple of years, it's insane how well this all works. However, 99% of people who are going to be purchasing this are going to be purchasing it for the astrophotography features, which here you can sort of see that they have different catalogs of galaxy, nebulas, clusters, the moon, the sun, apparently a planet. This is Jupiter, and then the comets. And we've seen a lot of comets coming by more recently. So it's definitely nice to see that there are comets included. But we also have the star catalogs, the famous Mosaic catalog of 101 objects, IC, the NGC catalog, and then the SH2 catalog. And then they have also apparently some well-known bright stars, which I believe this one here is Sirius, but I could be wrong. And in the app, and this is the same app as the S50 is using, you can go to tonight's best and you can literally pick from a list all the targets that you can see tonight that are in a good position in the sky, basically high up in the air, and are going to be visible for a good portion of the night. So you can go and image them and you're not worried about them, moving into the horizon or being too low in the horizon, never really getting up because they're too far south or too far north. So this is a really good way to get started in astrophotography because the telescope will find these targets for you and you can learn where they are in the night sky in relation to each other as you look up and figure out how to read the night sky yourself. Which brings us to what's in the box. You get the SeeStar S30, you get the tripod, you get a USB-C cable, you get a quick guidebook, you get a suitcase which holds everything, including the solar filter, the safety guidelines, and apparently now comes with a bunch of stickers. So if you like stickers or somebody in your family likes stickers, it's here. And that's all you need to get going. And basically, when it shows up, you'll charge the S30, you'll probably plug it in, do a firmware update, and you're ready to go. So that's what we've been able to learn so far about the S30. Now, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get my hands on one to be able to do a proper review and also comparison with the S50 and other smart telescopes that are out there. But initially from the specs, I think it's safe to say that if you're looking for a affordable smart telescope today, that the S30 makes a solid pitch at $349. I've put links below that give you more information and also helps support the channel. I hope to see you in the next video, and until then, have a great evening and clear skies.